A BEC attack is also known as a business email compromise, and it's an attack in which somebody impersonates a high-level person in the organization, like the CEO, to get someone to do something that they want them to do. BEC attacks are so successful because it's really just a con artist tactic to get someone at a company who has the ability to do something to do that thing for them. They're just trying to trick somebody. It doesn't involve complicated malware or a complicated series of attacks. They're just trying to get a human being to do something in the real world for them. There was one time when there was an organization, it was fairly large, and the CEO reached out to the financial officer and said, I need you to transfer $150 to this vendor to make sure that we close a deal with them. So the financial officer went ahead and did that. A few days later, that financial officer saw the CEO and mentioned that he'd gotten that done. The CEO said, what are you talking about? When they looked back at what had happened and they picked it apart, they realized that the emails that were coming from the CEO to the financial officer were not actually coming from the CEO. But the emails seemed to know a lot of inside information. They knew that the CEO was on a business trip. They knew the name of their process for transferring money. They knew that they were in the process of looking at this vendor and trying to close a deal. How did the attackers know all these details? Well, in this case, the attackers not only had looked at LinkedIn to figure out who everyone was in the organization, but they'd also actually been able to get into the CEO's email. So they were in the CEO's actual email box and they read a bunch of emails, saw the email threads that talked about this vendor, waited for their perfect moment when they knew that the CEO was on a business trip, and then sent this request to the financial officer to transfer the money. They had a successful attack because they were inside the email, they waited for the perfect moment, and they had insider knowledge of the organization. The biggest red flag that a BEC attack is happening is when someone is trying to get you to do something quickly, and typically it's against your process. So they want you to transfer money right now, or they want you to give them all the records, and you normally wouldn't do that, but they need you to do it right now. That is your biggest red flag. For all sensitive and important things you do, you should have a secure process and follow that process. So the one thing you should do is make sure you follow the process. And if you don't have one, make one. That way, if somebody tries to trick you, they'll be trying to go against the process, and you'll be able to say no and resist these kinds of attacks.